Hello and welcome to a new era of wrestling, a 1992 TEW 9 save where I am booking as Dutch Mantel in the WWF. I am Dave Mack and we are off the back of an incredibly successful Royal Rumble. Absolutely over the moon with how that went. We ended up with Macho Man winning the Royal Rumble, getting a fairly decent 81 rating and with a 100 rated segment at the end for his coronation as champion. Over the moon with that, really good there. We are on to our first episodes of Superstars of Wrestling since the pay-per-view, and let's dive into that one right now. So we have our pre-show here booked. We are at the Williams Arena, which I think I've gone for the Tri-State. I can't remember exactly where it was. I just let the game pick for me. And we've got 10,000 fans have turned up. In a pre-show bout, that decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling, not surprised here. The Texas Tornado versus Hercules ended in 11 minutes and 13 when the Tornado won with the Iron Claw for a 52. Not too bad there. The Texas Tornado with a 53 rating, which I'm pretty pleased with because he is getting pinged for his personal issues, which we know he has a lot of. Hercules with an in-ring performance of 42. I'll be honest, I've been looking to push Hercules because I really like the look of him. I quite liked him as a kid for some reason. Don't know why, just going back to my own youth. But I mean, really, he is letting me down in the ring a little bit. So I might not be giving him quite the push that he was destined for. Plus, he's really unhappy about his booking all the time. So get in a bin, Hercules. Stop moaning. Up next we have Jim Powers and Owen Hart versus Jake the Snake Roberts and Raven, who is one of my new signings there. In a bout that had subpar wrestling, that's a bit disappointing, a little heat. Jake the Snake and Raven defeated Powers and Hart in 12 minutes and 6 seconds when Jake the Snake DDT'd Jim Powers for the win. Jake the Snake the best in the ring there for a 64 rating in a pre-show. Jim Powers and Owen Hart are a team that have got good chemistry together, so they're kind of working quite well together. I want to push Owen Hart, obviously. We all know he's a great in-ring talent, so we want to see there. I'm struggling with find what to do with Jake the Snake. I'm really trying to... I want to crowbar him into the tag team division, so I'm thinking maybe Raven might be a good fit there. And this is also a pretty good... You've got a kind of veteran with a youngster here, and Jim Powers is a kind of, not a veteran, but he's good for boosting up Owen Hart there. So they're kind of ratings there. Owen Hart with an in-ring performance of 58 there. Pretty good, to be fair, anyway. So I'll be over the moon with that. So pretty happy with that one. And we have Louis Spicolli versus Shawn Michaels in a bout that had terrible wrestling again. That doesn't surprise me. And non-existent heat again doesn't surprise me. Shawn Michaels wins that with the sweet chin music for a 56. Shawn Michaels with a 67. Shawn Michaels was left off my Royal Rumble card mainly because he refused to be in the Rumble match with Marty Jannetty. Neither of them had any importance in that, so Shawn Michaels got bumped for the pre-show for just basically being a bit of a baby. He's a baby. Louis Spicolli here, he's got a 26. You know, he's on my kind of creative as one of the up-and-comers, so we're going to see how he gets on. He's obviously a jobber at the moment. We'll see how we go on there. And I think this is our final pre-show match, which is Mario and Mancini versus Papa Shango in an abysmal pre-show match. Papa Shango wins in 7:37 with the Voodoo Driver for a 45. Mancini there with a 29. That's not good enough for Mancini, really. My jobbers, I prefer my jobbers to be doing a little bit better than that. Papa Shango not too bad with a 49 though, so that's good. And Reverend Slick is Papa Shango's manager. I'm trying to work in what we can do in there. And one of my massive favourite things is I do love that kind of religiousy, crazy religious gimmick. So Reverend Slick might be doing that in some way, shape or form with Papa Shango and a few others. So we'll see how that ends up going. And we kick the show off with our Intercontinental Champion Bret the Hitman Hart, who beat Rowdy Roddy Piper at the Royal Rumble in their match, taking on Skinner. Skinner, I'm a big fan of Skinner. I liked him as a kid. I thought he was creepy and weird, and I liked his kind of smelly Skinner gimmick. He's my head trainer, so he gets in there and trains a lot of people. I'd like to push Skinner somewhat for something, which might happen in the future. I'm thinking about introducing some other belts, so that could be Skinner getting involved in some of those. It had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, and Bret wins in 8 minutes 54 with the sharpshooter for a 78. Bret with an 88. Bret is absolutely coming in clutch with his performances. Unbelievable what we're getting out of Bret the Hitman Hart at the moment. He is incredibly over. His in-ring performance is ridiculous. We need to think about pushing him to the next level, I think, because really I don't have the kind of faces that I want at the top end of it, and I think Bret's really that kind of guy that I want to push up there. Is something a bit different, something a bit more legitimate, I guess, and we'll go from there. And this leads us into our first segment, which is Ted DiBiase talking about how his night at the Royal Rumble, he faced the Big Boss Man, because Ted DiBiase was caught trying to cheat to win the Royal Rumble, to try and cheat to get the number 30 entrance into the Royal Rumble, and he took on the Big Boss Man and isn't too happy about how the WWF are dealing with these things.
I'm here with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who didn't get served justice last night at the Royal Rumble, but looks like he's got something to get off his chest.
Something to get off my chest, Gene? Oh, you better believe it. You see, the World Wrestling Federation is nothing but one big, corrupt machine. A machine run by jealous pencil pushers who don't want Ted DiBiase at the top where he belongs. Every time I get close to the WWF Championship, every time I earn a chance, the deck is stacked against me. One legitimate business transaction, and I'm thrown out of the Royal Rumble. They don't want a man with money, with power, with influence, carrying that championship. No, they'd rather parade around a clown like Randy Savage, a paper champion who's too busy worrying about his own madness and trying to end careers to prove he's a real man. You people cheer for him because you're just like him, broke, desperate, and clinging to a fairy tale. But let me tell you the truth. Macho Man didn't just win the Royal Rumble, he cheated destiny. He crippled the rightful champion in the process. That's right, Gene Okerlund. Randy Savage put his hands on a man far greater than he'll ever be. A man who was robbed of the WWF title because of Savage's reckless actions in the ring last night. And that's why I, Ted DiBiase, have taken it upon myself to make an investment. I've acquired the services of the greatest wrestler walking God's green earth today. A man who, when healthy, is untouchable. My client, the true, uncrowned WWF champion, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, the man Randy Savage nearly broke the neck of at the Royal Rumble. But mark my words, Savage, injuries heal. And when my client is back at 100%, when the styling and profiling is ready to strut once again, he'll be coming for you. And he'll be coming for the WWF Championship. And when that day comes, Savage, you'll find out what it's like to be broke, broken, and begging for mercy. Because everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Savage, last night at the Royal Rumble, you tried to take me out. You tried to put me on the shelf with this neck. But the Nature Boy doesn't stay down. Woo! I heal. I get stronger. And when I step back in that ring, I'm coming straight for you. You call yourself the Macho Man, you'll find out why I am the man. I'll make sure you pay the price for what you did to me.
And there we have it, a very unhappy $1 Million Man. He is not pleased with the WWF higher-ups, who he kind of thinks are holding him back for being too rich and too powerful. And we have a rather downtrodden, beaten and bruised Ric Flair, who feels that that Macho Man was a little bit too reckless in the ring last night, and they're kind of combining to come together there. Fantastic little pre-taped interview there with the two of them for an 84, hoping to blow this feud off as a kind of starting things up, but it feels like we're going to get $1 Million Man kind of building a bit of a killer team, a bit of an all-star team around him perhaps, and we'll see how that works out from there. Up next we have Sid Justice versus Barry Horrowitz and the Repo Man in a 2 versus 1 handicap match. In about that decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling, not surprised there as we got two jobbers. Sid Justice defeated Barry Horrowitz and the Repo Man in 7 minutes and 11 when Sid pinned Barry with a choke slam. If to tell a story, this story we're telling at the moment is we have a big dominating Sid Justice on the roster. We got a segment rating of 63 there, Sid with a 64, Repo Man with a 50 and Barry with a 44. I've not got a huge amount to do with Sid Justice. I'm not a big Sid Justice fan. I didn't really like him as a kid. I also think Sid Justice as a face that he is in this is it's a really difficult book, this kind of like psychopath crazy Sid Justice. I was never a big fan of him, so we're going to push him up the card, see what happens. But as you can see there, the in-ring performance of 64, not massively brilliant. I've got guys like Bret Hart massively out-wrestling him in comparison. So we'll see how we get on with Sid. Like I say, I struggle to work out what to do with him. Any ideas, stick it in the comments, because otherwise he's just going to sort of win a few and maybe get jobbed out, I guess. But he's high up the card, so I'm still going to push him a little bit from here. So we'll see where that goes. Up next, we have Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Mr. USA versus Jerry Sags. In a decent match, Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated Jerry Sags in 8 minutes 58 with a 3-point stance, clothesline for a segment rating of a 63. Pretty decent there. Both guys getting an in-ring performance of 56, which is exactly what I'd expect from my kind of mid-carders there. Duggan off of his game, which is a bit disappointing, but Jimmy Hart, who is Jerry Sags' manager, doing some good work at ringside. Jerry Sags turned up and was a bit antagonising people prior to the show, so this is a little bit of Dave booking to punish Jerry Sags. However, Jerry Sags is on my sort of one to watch for the future list in creative, so I do want to kind of get Jerry Sags involved in things. So he might be jobbing out here to Hacksaw on Superstars, but it's good exposure for him and we want to get him out there, which leads us on to our next segment.
Oh, yes. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh, how you wave that silly little flag. How you shout, "Hoo!" to all of these simple people. But you don't understand what's waiting for you, do you? You don't understand the power of the darkness. Your card is marked by the Undertaker, and you are just another soul to be buried.
And there we have it. The Paul Bearer making the latest challenge on the Undertaker's behalf here. A little 6-minute short angle there for a segment rating of 74. Paul Bearer's massively good on the mic. It seems that Hacksaw Jim Duggan is the next one in the Undertaker's crosshairs. I want to push the Undertaker. A few people were kind of surprised that I didn't put him in the Royal Rumble match. I didn't want him to throw him into the Rumble match. It felt like a throwaway match for him to just go in and not win. I want him to get pushed up the card. The problem with the Royal Rumble was absolutely everybody is in the Royal Rumble match, so it did leave him with a kind of throwaway match against Virgil. However, want to kind of strap a rocket to the Undertaker, but a rocket that rockets to the moon, but not so super quick. We want to get him there, but we don't want to push him too super hard, so we're going to see how we can just get him a few matches here. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, his next big opponent, so we'll see how he does with that one. And our main event for the evening, we have Jim the Anvil Neidhart versus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. A decent match. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase defeats Jim Neidhart in 10:46 with the Cobra Clutch. For a segment rating of 76, not huge, but that's not too bad. Superstars, I'm trying to book it fairly realistic to a point where we're not going to have our main event guys facing off like you'd see on Raw nowadays. Back in 92 it was a little bit different with how these things were booked, so fair enough there. Ted DiBiase getting a win as well because we want to get a little bit of momentum behind him. Jim Neidhart with a 50 in ring, which is not massively brilliant, but it'll do. $1 Million Man with a 78, that's more what I want to be seeing from the guys at the top end in my main events. Vince and Bobby Heenan, we know, are going to be great together. We've got JJ Dillon, who is Jim the Anvil's manager, doing some good work, and Ric Flair, who is obviously now aligned with Ted DiBiase, did some good work at ringside as well. So that is our main event. There we end the show with a final promo from our world champion, Macho Man.
Right now, I'm joined by your new World Wrestling Federation champion, Macho Man Randy Savage, and the immortal Hulk Hogan, who wants to say a few words to our new champion.
Well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Last night, all the little Hulkamaniacs were running wild, brother, watching one of the greatest battles in WWF history, dude. And when the dust settled, when the smoke cleared, it was the Macho Man standing tall with the championship, yeah. And I want to say this, brother, straight from the heart. Congratulations, Randy Savage. You went into that Royal Rumble, you fought tooth and nail, you never backed down, and you proved to the whole world why you deserve to be the WWF champion, brother. Ooh, yeah. So all the Hulkamaniacs, all the Macho Maniacs, we're standing together, brother, because when the best man wins the big one fair and square, Hulk Hogan's the first to say, "You earned it, Macho Man." And with the power of Hulkamania and the madness, the whole world better watch out, dude, because the WWF is about to explode.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. I heard what you said, brother. You said I deserve it. You said I earned it. And you're right. I did. Because I fought my way through 29 other superstars. I scratched, I clawed, and I walked out with the gold around my waist. Ooh, yeah. But Hulkster, I see you. You think you're special, you do. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it when you laugh at me, look down on me, and walk around on the Macho Man. Dig it. Just one more fight about this championship, and I will straight up leave with it. 'Cause I've had enough of this. And now I'm ticked off, yeah. This time, I'm gonna let it all come out. This time, I'm gonna stand up and shout. We're gonna do things my way. You see, right around the corner is the biggest night of them all, WrestleMania. And I'm telling you now, we let all those Hulkamaniacs and Macho Maniacs pick their side, and me and you, brother, go one-on-one for this title belt. See, I know we've not always seen eye to eye, brother, and I don't forget how quickly you want that spotlight back on you. So it's my way or the highway, Hulk. I appreciate the congratulations, but I'm not letting my guard down. And at WrestleMania, I'll show you and the world why I'm the champion. Dig it.
And there we have it. The Macho Man seeming to let his paranoia overtake him a little bit there as Hulkster turning up saying the better man won. That's absolutely fantastic. Macho Man Randy Savage there borrowing his verbiage from a bit of a classic WrestleMania kind of moment there, if anyone picked up on that. But he is issuing the challenge to Hulk Hogan, basically saying, look, I want you out the picture now, Hulk. I want to prove I'm the best in the business, and that's what we've kind of got going on there. So perhaps our WrestleMania main event, should the Macho Man still be champion, be set. We have an excellent 7-minute angle here with Macho Man, Hulk, and Mean Gene Okerlund. Absolutely always going to smash it out. Macho seems to be a real steady Eddie when it comes to these segments. He got my last 100 rated segment, and boom, we get another one again here as Mean Gene Okerlund unperformed, but Macho Man and Liz are fantastic together. Hogan always doing well, and we actually had a Macho Man's Randy Savage angle idea here that was basically a sure bet, so I wanted to use this. I don't use these too often, so I wanted to give it a little bit of a taster. I'll normally save these for pay-per-views to try and bump that up there, but I was fairly confident with these three in it, and if I use this angle idea and it being a success, would do well. So 100 rating, fingers crossed, this should do us pretty well for the final show rating, I'm guessing. So yeah, for an 86, absolutely fantastic when you consider we've not really even got any of the big names other than probably Bret and Sid Justice, the only real superstars that we had in the ring. That's absolutely fantastic there. Limited growth in certain areas as we're not showing there too much, which is absolutely fine. I understand that. And we had a wide selection of angles. Happy with that. So yeah, really good news there. Let's have a quick look at the financial report, which is we make a load of money per show, which is always really nice. And the pop recap is, boom, we're all going up. It's all heading in the right direction. We're getting a little bit more popular all over the place. So we're really happy with that as well. Over to the inbox we'll take a look at just before we finish up this episode. Really pleased with that as a first show after the Rumble. I thought the Rumble was a good success. We've now got Saturday Night Main Event, which is coming up in about a month's time. And then we have WrestleMania, which is coming up in April time. I want to book the big four events, so obviously the Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam and Survivor Series, they're going to be booked as the big ones. We've got a couple in between, which I think is Saturday Night Main Event, and we have the King of the Ring. I'm going to throw in there as well and try and get a bit of interest for the King of the Ring to make it a little bit more exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of have the main matches happening on the big events, and we'll save some smaller ones. So Saturday night main event, we might see a smaller main event, a smaller pay-per-view there, but we need to still build a few things up there. A few people have spoken about with the Wrestling Challenge being the B show, maybe doing shows for that, because at the moment I feel like with Superstars of Wrestling we're really only building that top end. It's an hour-long show, so we don't have a lot of time. We're really only building that main event scene, so I might start putting out episodes of Wrestling Challenge as well, just so we can start building that undercard, because for things like WrestleMania is going to be a 3-hour show. We're going to need to build those bigger events around the A and the B show. I know obviously the B show is not going to do much as far as our pop, but as far as storytelling, it might be a little bit more interesting to get some of those lower card guys there. So if you've got any ideas how I should do that, should I bundle the Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge into one big show, or should I do it as 2 separate shows? Should I do just a very quick breakdown of the Wrestling Challenge, or do you prefer to see it going really into detail and get the kind of graphics and all the vocal stuff that I've been doing with the other guys on Superstars of Wrestling? We'll be really interested to know if anyone's got any thoughts on that. Please do just pop it in the comments below. But overall, pretty happy with how things are going on there. Bret the Hitman Hart. Hercules needs to learn how to sell. It's not worth pushing him until he's addressed. Bret, I'll be honest with you, I'm on the page. I mean, I've been pushing Hercules. I'm giving him all the chances, and the man isn't meeting me halfway. So I'm kind of going to agree with you there, Bret. And our drug testing fees are there as well. So yeah, overall, really pleased with that as an actual episode there of Superstars of Wrestling. That's an 86 is really good. Really pleased with that. That's going to be right up there with some of the best we're going to get, because we're not going to really be able to stretch further than that with the way we're booking with putting people in there. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. If you're enjoying what's going on, please let me know. There is over on the Grey Dog software, there's a running kind of written diary for this as well, so you can go through the diary there and get involved a little bit more talking. There's a Patreon page if anyone wants to join that, where I kind of try and do some updates on what's going along and what I'm getting up to. But yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you soon. Catch you later.